Rogue One, a Star Wars story, is a new movie that was directed by Gareth Edwards, and it's by far one of the most anticipated movie of 2016. And the events in this movie takes place before Episode 4, and it primarily is about the rebels retrieving the Death Star plans from the Empire. And I gotta tell you that this movie was very fun, and I had a good time with this film. And this film was very different from all the other Star Wars films. That is so different that I gotta dig deeper into it. The way that Gareth Edwards directed this film pretty much showed the ATs through a human perspective, with having them humongous, having them gigantic, and again, that was the same style he used for Godzilla. But that same style made Godzilla very tall, like very menacing and very imposing, and that's exactly what he did with this film. The war sequences, wow, the action sequences looked like it was realistic. It was grounded in the level, and it really felt like a war film that's happening in the Star Wars universe. It was pretty much a grounded film, like a war film. It's like Black Hawk Down in the Star Wars universe. That's how good it was. There are some characters in this movie that are nothing but CGI, but yet you notice the CGI, but it's not a bad thing. I mean, you notice the CGI, but it doesn't bother you, as in you're thinking it's cartoony, but you just notice the CGI, and I think the CGI was done very well. The story was perfectly woven into the fabrics of the Star Wars lore. So this movie can be on its own, but yet the story perfectly fits with Episode 4. And it's not a spoiler, but the movie does end a few moments before Episode 4. It was advertised as that, so it's not really pretty much a spoiler. There wasn't an overabundance of cameos, but yet the cameos did fit into the movie. There are some familiar faces that you would see in this movie that really could get to a hardcore Star Wars fan. I gotta talk about Darth Vader. Darth Vader was amazing. Like, every time he was on screen, I just had a fanboy moment, and I just loved every second he was on screen, and I wanted more. I wanted more Darth Vader. I really do. And that leads to the flaws with this film. The flaws with this film, if you're expecting to see Darth Vader for a long period of time, I'm going to let you know that you're not going to get it. Darth Vader was pretty much in this movie for 4 minutes. But there was an awesome scene with Darth Vader, which was really great to see. It was really great to see, and I enjoyed it. It was fun. But it will leave you with that urge to see more Darth Vader. You'd be dying. The movie was done poorly when it comes to scene to scene. Like, there are some scenes that was put into this movie that really didn't make sense when the scene went to a different scene. The reason why it's like that, because the movie did have to do reshoots, so therefore each scene, it doesn't really connect well. The characters with this movie weren't really established. I wasn't emotionally invested in none of the characters. I just wasn't into it. Outside of Gene Erso, the characters were not established. And that's one of the things, with the best things about Star Wars. The trilogy and Star Wars Force Awakens. The movie brings you in based on its characters. The movie is pretty much around its characters and character development, and then gives out layers to the character and story arcs to the character. And that's pretty much the main thing with the original trilogy in Episode 7. But with this movie is primarily good based on its story being known. It's in the Star Wars lore, not with its characters. That therefore I can't really feel none of the characters when the characters suffer hardships or anything like that. I had this experience when I was watching Episode 7, where I was watching Rey, John Boyega's character Finn, when they was going through hardships, when they was going through tough times. I was feeling this character. I was emotionally connected with these characters. But with Rogue One, I wasn't really emotionally connected with the characters outside of Gene Erso. Donnie Yen's character, he plays a blind man, but he has some really badass moments, and there was some funny moments that I really love him being on screen. But still, they just pretty much played safe with these characters. They didn't really develop, and it's pretty much to a point where I had a hard time remembering his name and the other character's name. The villain in this movie, he was pretty much like a Fall Guy, the third wheel. For every time something bad happens, he always gets the short end of the stick. He always gets bullied. It was really to a point where I was not actually feeling his character at all because they didn't really establish his character. They just pretty much put him in a movie, so therefore he can just walk around and do some other things and evil things, but still get the short end of the stick and be bullied around by other characters. It just, he was pretty much, I felt like he was just a third wheel character that's really not important. Diego Luna, who's played Cassian, there are some scenes where they could have established his character potentially. He has one outburst where they kind of did a tidbit of his origin story, but yet I couldn't really get into his character. But yet his character had some scenes with Gene Erso without the movie where they could have developed his character a little bit more, but they didn't. The cinematography was very perfect. There's nothing wrong with the cinematography. It was 100%. The CGI, the special effects was crisp. It was clear. I was just at awe. It was so beautiful that you can really watch this movie in Dolby Cinema or 3D, and you can still have an awesome experience with this film. This movie was very fun, but the main thing with this movie that was doing the characterization. But I think that the movie pretty much focused more of its story in Gene Erso, but not with the other characters, where other Star Wars movies, they do that. But it's still a good and fun film to enjoy, but it's not as good as Force Awakens. It's not as good as the original trilogy. So I had to give this movie a Christian Bale Batman. This is a very fun movie. A very fun movie. I had a good time with this film. That's my review for Rogue One. Alright guys, tell me, have you seen it? Tell me how you feel, and we can discuss everything. And I will do a spoiler review. Thank you for watching. If you like everything you see and you agree, click right here to join me in the Batman family. I'll have more Batman-tastic reviews in a way. You have been warned. Till then, ciao.